fellow Clashers! It has been a long time since I've said that. I'm KairosTime, and it is time for every Clash mini hero 1v1. Every Clash mini hero will face off against each other 3 times. Once at level 1 when all they have is their super. Again at level 5 when their super gets a buff, and a 3rd time at level 10 when they are completely maxed out and their super gets another buff. Let's start off with the Archer Queen versus the Monk. Now the Archer Queen has less health than the Monk, but she attacks faster. Her super increases her attack speed even more, but the Monk's is a palm strike that deals insane damage and knocks her out before she can even benefit from it. And unfortunately for the Archer Queen, things don't get any better for her in round 2. At level 5, her super increases the speed of nearby allies, which doesn't help her in a 1v1. Whereas when the Monk gets to level 5, his attack speed gets buffed throughout the match, making him even stronger. And round 3 is even a worse matchup for the Archer, since her 3rd ability doesn't even activate until after she gets a kill. But then the Monk's final ability almost doubles the damage from his palm strike, which leaves the Monk with 3 points and the Archer Queen with 0. Up next is the Barbarian King versus the Shield Maiden. The Barbarian King's super increases the damage of himself and nearby allies for a short time, and the Shield Maiden's super blocks incoming damage and reflects some of the damage back to the attacker for a short time. The match is actually really close, but the Shield Maiden is able to sneak a victory in the last couple of seconds. At level 5, the Shield Maiden's super forces all enemies to attack her when the shield is up, which is actually useless in a 1v1. But the Barbarian King's level 5 ability is also useless because it makes it so that his super actually affects all teammates rather than just those that are close to him. However, from level 1 to level 5, the Barbarian King actually gets a buff to his attack damage, and since the Shield Maiden doesn't get that buff, it actually allows the King to take a victory, although this does actually go into split second of sudden death because both of these heroes are so tanky. Round 3 is even better for the Barbarian King because the duration of his super is doubled, while the Shield Maiden's level 10 ability only activates if she gets a kill. That leaves the Shield Maiden with 1 point and the Barbarian King with 2. Now let's see if the Archer Queen can get some points against the Countess. The Countess's super teleports her behind the furthest enemy, which deals damage to them and heals herself. Once she activates this, it's obvious that she's going to win the first round. Her level 5 ability prevents nearby enemies from healing for a bit, and none of the heroes, including the Archer Queen, have any healing abilities, but it's obvious that it doesn't matter anyway since the Countess's attack speed increases so much as she levels up. At level 10, the Countess deals 2 additional damage for each attack when attacking enemies from behind. This only activates if her target is facing away from her, so it doesn't actually help in this matchup, but once again, it's obvious she doesn't need this buff to take out the Archer Queen. And that leaves the Countess with 3 points, and the Archer Queen remains at 0, despite already having faced more opponents than any other hero. Up next is the Barbarian King versus the Countess. Now, the Barbarian King is really tanky, but the Countess actually heals herself. It takes her a while to chop through his HP, but after her supercharges a second time, she's able to take the first round at the last second. The second round takes even longer since the Barbarian King gets such a big health buff at level 5, and his super requires a lot of energy to charge, but eventually she's able to take him out thanks to her fast charging super. In the 3rd round, the Barbarian King gets a useful buff, while the Countess's doesn't actually work because he faces her head on even after she teleports behind him. The duration of his super is doubled, which means that he's able to chain supers back to back. Even though the Countess leeches his health, he's able to take her out and claim a point, and that leaves the Barbarian King with 3 total points while the Countess has 5. Up next, the Shield Maiden versus the Monk. At first, this feels like a very slow matchup because these two have so much HP and really slow attacks. Unfortunately for the Shield Maiden, her shield activates before the Monk's palm strike, and it does so much damage that it gets her knocked up into the air for the majority of the time that her shield is up. This means that very little damage is actually reflected back onto the Monk, and she ends up losing in the first round. She does better in the second round because the palm strike actually happens before her shield activates. This gives her more time to deflect damage onto the Monk, but it's clearly not enough, and he finishes her off with a second palm strike just as the sudden death countdown starts. Now in the 3rd round, the Shield Maiden has more HP than any of the heroes, which is awesome because it means that she has more time to deflect damage against the Monk. However, the damage from the Monk's palm strike almost doubles at level 10, which wipes out half of her health within its first strike, and honestly, that's pretty insane. After that, it's obvious the Monk is going to win with his second palm strike. Now that we're halfway through the matches, here is the scoreboard. In last place with 0 points is the Archer Queen. Next is the Shield Maiden with 1 point. The Barbarian King has 3 points. The Countess comes in 2nd place with 5 points, and in the lead is the Monk with a perfect score of 6 points. Now, is the Monk the best hero in the game? Is the Archer Queen the worst? We're gonna find out, but first I wanted to let you guys know that this channel is in trouble. This channel is actually an experiment for me, okay? I've never tried a second channel, let alone tried to cover another game other than Brawl Stars, except for Clash Royale, which I did before Brawl Stars. if things don't go well on this channel, I'm not going to continue creating content for Clash Mini so that I can actually focus on my main Brawl Stars. Creating content for a second channel takes a lot of time I could spend with my family, or time I could spend doing other hobbies, like actually exercising. It also takes money for me to pay an editor to make high quality videos like this. If you want me to create more content on Clash Mini, I need you to tell me. And you can do that by actually commenting below or subscribing on this second channel so that I can see that, and that's a signal to me that I should continue with this. Thanks for your support. Here's the Archer Queen versus the Shield Maiden. At level 1, the fight actually looks like it's going to be pretty close, even though the Archer Queen has so little health. But it becomes really obvious that the Shield Maiden wins as soon as they activate their abilities, thanks to the damage that she deflects onto the Archer Queen. At level 5, it's even worse for the Archer Queen because of how the Shield Maiden's attacks actually work. It deflects the first damage back onto its user, which means that the Shield Maiden only takes damage if the enemy can deal more than 1 damage with each attack. At level 5, the Archer Queen's attacks only deal 1 damage, which means that they all get reflected back onto her. And at level 10, things are even worse for the Archer Queen because her attack speed gets buffed, but she still only deals 1 damage with each attack. So as soon as that shield goes up, the Archer Queen pretty much just kills herself. Maybe she'll have a chance against her last opponent, the Barbarian King. Okay. Sorry, honestly, there's just no way she could survive against the Barbarian King. He has way more HP than she does at all levels, and their attack per second is actually pretty similar. When they activate their abilities, the Archer Queen attacks much faster, but the Barbarian King hits much harder, and she does not have the HP to withstand the onslaught. I don't think that this means the Archer Queen is bad. After all, she can attack 3 enemies at once with her ability, and she can even inspire nearby allies to attack faster too. But she does best when she has troops to tank for her, which makes her pretty bad in 1v1 fights. That means the Barbarian gets 3 points for a total of 6, and the Archer Queen takes dead last, having lost every single match against the 4 other heroes. Up next is the Shield Maiden versus the Countess. Now this is actually a really interesting matchup because the Countess's lifesteal ability actually heals her for the full amount, even when she uses it on the Shield Maiden when the Shield Maiden has her shield up. It also deals enough damage that the Shield Maiden actually takes a little bit of damage when her shield is up as well. And this allows the Countess to finish the first round with nearly full health. What's really interesting about the second round though is that the timing of both of their abilities changes because the Countess actually gets an attack speed buff at level 5 while the Shield Maiden's actually stays the same. This just so happens to make it so that the Countess takes a ton of damage while the Shield Maiden's shield is up. So even though she lost in the first round, the Shield Maiden wins the second round. And in round 3, the roles reverse again for 2 reasons. First of all, the Countess's attack speed gets even faster. It's the fastest in the game at level 10, which changes the timing of their 2 abilities a bit more, but this time to be favorable for her. But the most important fact is the fact that the Shield Maiden does not turn around to face the Countess while she is shielded up. And that means that the Countess gets 2 additional damage for attacking the Shield Maiden from behind, and those 2 damage pass through the Maiden's shield and take her out. Now the Countess gets 2 points for this match and now has a score of 7, while the Shield Maiden gets 1 point and ends with a score of 5. This is the Shield Maiden's final matchup, which means that she gets second to last. Up next is the Monk versus the Barbarian King. Now at first, it actually looks like these 2 are pretty evenly matched. They're both really tanky and they attack super slow. But when they activate their abilities, it's pretty obvious who the winner is going to be. The Monk, right? Just in case that wasn't clear. Round 2 is actually a lot closer because the Barbarian King has more HP to withstand the Monk's first ability. In fact, he gets pretty close to defeating him, but the Monk comes out on top again. In round 3, the Barbarian King has even more HP, but the Monk's Palm Strike nearly doubles in damage, and even though the King is able to survive it, he's left with so little HP that he ends up dying before he can deal enough damage to steal a win against the Monk. The Monk gets another 3-0 win with a perfect score of 9 points. Meanwhile, the Barbarian King ends this competition with 6 points, meaning that he takes 3rd place. And now for the final matchup, the Countess versus the Monk. Currently, the Monk leads with 9 points, while the Countess has 7 points. Is the Countess's healing enough to help her withstand the Monk's Palm Strike? Or maybe the Monk's just gonna dominate this entire competition. Let's find out. In the first round, the Countess completely heals up with her first ability, but unfortunately for her, the Monk's Palm Strike can take her out in 1 shot, even if she is fully healed. In the second round, the Countess's HP actually gets a bit of a buff, but despite healing up with her ability, she does not have enough to deal with the Palm Strike, and she gets blown out of the arena like every other hero does. And unfortunately for her, she gets wrecked even faster in the final final round because each attack she lands on the monk charges the energy for his super. Not to mention that his palm strike does so much damage that there is no way for her to win this. And with that, here is the final scoreboard. In dead last, we have the Archer Queen. After her is the Shield Maiden with 5 points, then the Barbarian King with 6, and in second to last, we have the Countess with 7 points, and of course, the champion with the perfect score of 12 points is the Monk. Now, obviously, this isn't the best indicator of how strong a hero actually is because they also have teammates that they can support or that also support them. But I do find this really interesting, and to be completely honest, I do think that the Monk is actually the best hero currently in the game across all levels. I'd have to say that either the Countess or the Shield Maiden are probably second best, although that I do actually think the Shield Maiden is better for most situations. And that's actually exactly why I suggest selecting the Shield Maiden as your starting hero, because you'll get to choose either the Shield Maiden, Barbarian King, or Barbarian Queen. And you'll actually get a lot of quests that help you get a really big boost to whichever hero you first started out with, which is why you're gonna want the best at the very start. And then later on, you can unlock the Monk and the Shield Maiden. Now, even though I think that the Shield Maiden is the best hero for you to start out with, she actually performed worse as everyone else got to be upgraded. And although the Barbarian King didn't do very well at the start, against heroes at max level, he was the second best hero. So maybe he'll actually be better to pick because he is so strong later on. Once again, if you like the content of this video and you want more Clash Mini videos on this channel, the best way for you to make this happen is to let me know in the comment section below and subscribe so that I know you actually want it and that this is worth my time actually doing for you guys. If you have some friends that enjoy Clash Mini, I would really appreciate you guys sharing that video with them as well, as that actually is a great signal to YouTube that this is a video worth sharing to others. As soon as I played my first match of Clash Mini, I knew I was going to want to create content around it. But no matter how much I enjoy a game, I can't create a video around it unless that video is actually going to help support my family. And, you know, so please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching. At the time I'm releasing this video, I might have one more video to show right there that you can check out. And for now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Clash Mini.